Hi there! I hope you're ready for some pie because in this video I'm going to show you how to create a pie graph in Microsoft Excel. Now if you're not familiar with a pie graph, it is simply a circle broken up into various slices that represent percentages or parts of a whole. Typically, each slice in the graph is a different color and each color represents a different category or item. Now the thing about pie graphs is that they're actually pretty bad at doing what they're trying to do. Take a look at this graph for instance. As you can see, there are 4 different slices, but it's a little difficult to see the subtle differences between them. Now what happens if I look at the same data in the form of a bar graph? My brain has a much easier time comparing the lengths of the bars than it does comparing the sizes of the pie slices. This being the case, if you have more than 2 categories that you want to compare, use a bar graph. If you have only 2, feel free to use a pie graph. Since I've introduced both pie graphs and bar graphs so far, I will show you how to make both of these in Microsoft Excel. Now to make a pie graph in Excel, you need 2 things. First, you need a list of categories, and also you need a list of values that correspond to each category. Once you've got these, you're ready to go. Start by selecting both the categories and the values. Click on the Insert tab in the Excel ribbon in the chart group, and then click on the pie chart button and select the first option. This will create a 2D pie chart, which is what we want. Now what happens if you have more than 2 categories? In this case, it's best to use a bar graph instead of a pie graph to show percentages. The first thing you need to do is create a percentage metric for each category. To do this, add the following formula to cell C2. Equals B2 divided by sum, open parentheses, $B, $2, colon, $B, $5, close parentheses. You can then use the fill handle to drag the formula down the rest of column C to create percentages for all of the values. Now how does this formula work? Let's take a closer look. The formula in cell C2 takes the value in B2 and divides it by the sum of all the values. We're doing this because a percentage is calculated by taking a value and dividing it by the sum of all the values. In the case of this formula, B2 contains a single value which is then divided by the sum of all the values. Now why are dollar signs included in the B2, B5 reference and not the B2 reference? The B2 reference is a relative reference and we want it to update as the formula is dragged down through column C. Take a look at how B2 has changed to B3, B4, and B5. On the other hand, the dollar signs were added to the B2, B5 reference to make it an absolute reference. It keeps the reference from changing even when it's dragged down through column C. Going back to the formulas, you can see that the reference is the same throughout each formula. The last step in creating our percentages is to format them to actually look like percentages. You can do this by selecting cells C2 through C5, then under the Home tab in the Excel ribbon, click on the % button. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, let's move on to creating our bar graph. Start by selecting the categories with your mouse. Next, hold the Control key and select the % values next. Now, with both the categories and % values selected, you can go to Insert, click on the bar chart button, and select the first option under the 2D bar category. This will create the bar chart to show different percentages of all the categories. And that about sums up how to create a bar graph and a pie graph in Microsoft Excel to show percentages. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new, and I will see you in the next Spreadsheet Live video.